Well, as a mother, I think it's very scary.
I hate the fact that it's a one-size-fits-all.
I'm really concerned about the prescriptiveness.
I don't think it's the place of the government to impose from above a very particular model of learning.
If we look at what the EYFS is actually demanding that people like me are objecting to, I think the first thing that's important is to realise that it's only a very small part of the EYFS. A lot of it is brilliant. I'm all for it. The part we're objecting to are the learning goals. The learning goals say children before they reach the age of 5 not just hopefully will, but should achieve all of the following. Enjoy using spoken and written language. Read a range of familiar words and simple sentences independently. Write their own names, labels, captions, and begin to form simple sentences, some of them with punctuation. Have you ever seen a 4-year-old punctuate? And then we're on to numeracy. Say and use number names in familiar contexts. Recognise written numbers 1 to 9. Complete a simple computer program. Now, most people who've ever had any dealings with small children know that the vast majority of 4 to 5-year-olds do not do all these things, and many of them don't do any. So what it's doing is to set children up for failure before they've even started compulsory schooling.
I worked for several years with the National Literacy Strategy, and we helped set the goals which eventually became the goals in the EYFS for literacy. In fact, it now appears in retrospect that they were quite wrong, because instead of helping to raise standards, I believe firmly, and so do many other people involved in literacy, that they are counterproductive. They are meaning that children aren't making the progress that they could. What I saw when I travelled in Finland and watched their excellent early years practice was a lot of play, a lot of talk, a huge amount of music, art, drama. These are the foundations on which you can build children's education. When I've talked to teachers, nursery teachers in Scandinavian countries, the Netherlands, and tell them that we start our children so soon on literacy, you get the automatic response of, "But that is cruel! That is cruel to the children."
This question of whether starting academic education earlier leads to better academic outcomes is a really difficult one, because if, as they do at the moment, and as the EYFS will do, you teach children hard for a period and then almost instantly test them on what you've taught them, they will appear to do extremely well. But the question of whether you've educated them in the sense of doing anything to contribute to their desire to learn, their intellectual capability, their predisposition to find things out, all the things that really matter to becoming a Nobel laureate in physics or literature, the evidence is that you haven't.
Look!
I think the first 5 years in particular of a child's life are a period of very rapid growth and development where children have to explore in their own way. They are natural learners, they're almost like scientists. They're finding out using all their senses, they're learning how to be with other people. They don't need a set of targets imposed on them. As far as I know, there's no evidence at all to show that starting formal learning early has any academic advantage.
I'm not aware at all of any research that actually says starting formal education earlier is beneficial.
There is a great deal of pressure on us as early years practitioners to deliver this curriculum, and that must somehow come through. You know, that we're watching you, we're ticking boxes, we want you to perform this for us now.
there are 70 goals for children to achieve by the time they're 5, and if teachers are required to find 3 pieces of evidence for each of those statements, then that's 210 pieces of evidence per child, which is a huge amount of data. And I am in a school where the children don't come in speaking English, and there's no way that my children now are going to meet their targets for this year. You know, it's impossible.
Because we are taking away the right of parents and the belief that parents actually know how to be.
This is something that our parent body have felt very, very strongly about. They've been campaigning very hard against this because they feel that their parental choice has been taken away from them, and that this is their human right, their right to send their children to a school that they believe is right for their child. And I think the parents feel very angry, actually, that this is being taken away and undermined by the government.
It's as though the government would like to say that we have now concluded that we have the best way, we've figured out the best way that all people can learn. And so there's no point, for us to do any more work on that creatively, and this is what everyone has to do. Why should they take that position?
The emphasis on information and communication technology as a learning tool for young children is another aspect of the early years foundation stage that experts, parents, and practitioners have found deeply worrying.
There's a growing amount of both medical as well as cognitive science evidence that exposing young children to screen technology, that means computers, DVDs, educational television and the like, at these early ages causes a wide range of both health problems but also learning problems which may persist till many years later. In particular, there's something about screen technology which seems to spoil a child's ability to pay sustained attention. And that's something that's very important to cultivate, because it's thought that paying a concentrated form of sustained attention to things is a key part of what we call intelligence.
Society is changing very fast, but little children, haven't changed at all. And what they need, you can count on the fingers of one hand. I mean, they need real food, we know that now. They need real play. They need talk and song. They need love.
I hope we shall see early years education going more towards developing ideas and arguments rather than the teaching of skills and techniques.
Give people freedom to develop and trust teachers, trust professionals, trust parents, and also trust children, their own ability to explore and to learn from their environment.
We do need to start young and really work on those human skills and not just the head.
As well as being ineffective at raising standards and stressful for both children and carers, the learning goals of the early years foundation stage are practically unworkable. They are also potentially damaging to children's ability to learn and a violation of parents' right to choose.
The Minister Beverly Hughes has recently announced that only 2 of the learning goals will be reviewed in 2009, and that although nursery settings may apply for exemptions from the learning and development requirements, these exemptions will only be for a limited time. Parents' right to choose as a matter of human rights has not been adequately addressed in this announcement. We want the EYFS and the assessment profile to be delayed until the end of year 1 of primary education, and for the learning and development requirements to become guidance rather than a legal duty for early years practitioners. The EYFS is fundamentally a matter of too much, too soon for young children, and the Open Eye campaign is at its very heart a campaign to save childhood. If you feel strongly about these issues, please visit our website to see how you can support our campaign.